I stand frozen in the hallway, one hand pressed against the wall for support, the other clutching my wedding magazine, so tightly the pages crinkle. The dining room door is cracked open just enough for their voices to slip through. I wasn't supposed to be home for another hour. My marketing meeting ended early, and I thought I'd surprise them. Instead, they surprise me. She'll pay for everything just like she did for my wedding. Violet's distinctive laugh, too loud, too sharp, cuts through the air. That's what little sisters are for. My parents chuckle in agreement, the sound of their betrayal making my stomach clench. We've already told everyone about the combined celebration, Mom says, the pride evident in her voice. Dad clears his throat. Your anniversary deserves as much attention as her wedding. 5 years is a milestone. My wedding magazine slips from my fingers, landing silently on the carpeted floor. I don't move to pick it up. I can't move at all. The blood rushes to my face as my breathing turns shallow. White-knuckled, I grip my handbag to keep my hand from trembling. 5 years of therapy teaching me to recognize my worth evaporates in an instant. I'm 10 years old again, watching Violet open my birthday presents while everyone applauds her for being such a good sharer. I back away from the door, careful not to make a sound. My legs carry me outside to my car, where I sink into the driver's seat and stare at nothing. The keys dangle from my fingers, but I don't put them in the ignition. Not yet. First, I need to call Robert. My finger hovers over his name in my contacts. 3 deep breaths later, I press call. Hey beautiful, he answers on the second ring. How was the meeting? They're trying to do it again, Rob. My voice comes out steadier than I expect. But this time I won't let them. 5 years ago, Violet announced her engagement to Thomas. 2 weeks later, Dad called me into his study explaining that Thomas had lost his job, and they needed help with wedding expenses. Just temporary, he promised. Family comes first, Naomi, he said, his hand heavy on my shoulder. Your sister needs this. Mom stood in the doorway, arms crossed. If you really loved your sister, I handed over my entire savings account. $15,000. My education fund. My future. It's just a semester, Mom said, when I had to drop out of college. You can always go back. 3 semesters later, I was still working 2 jobs, watching my dreams collect dust while Violet danced at her reception in a dress that cost more than my car. That night I made myself a promise while Sisters by Rosemary Clooney played over the speakers. Never again. 2 weeks later, Mom invites us for dinner. Just a casual family gathering, she says, but I know better. Her voice has that rehearsed quality it gets when she's planning something. The table is set with the good china, never a good sign. Violet and Thomas arrive 15 minutes late as usual. Before we eat, Mom announces once we're all seated, we have the most brilliant idea. I feel Robert's hand find mine under the table as Mom launches into a speech about beautiful symbolism and shared celebrations. We thought, she continues, beaming, that we could combine Naomi's wedding with Violet and Thomas's 5th anniversary celebration. Violet pulls out a folder, color-coded and tabbed, and places it on the table. I've already made a list. Separate cake, of course. Special dance. And I think the colors should match my original wedding. For continuity. Robert's fingers tighten around mine as I feel all eyes turn to me. They're waiting for my usual immediate agreement. My automatic yes that's been conditioned into me since childhood. Let me think about it, I say instead. The silence that follows is deafening. Mom's smile freezes. Dad blinks rapidly. Violet's mouth opens slightly, then closes. Think about it. Dad recovers first, patting my shoulder dismissively. Always practical. That's why we know you'll handle the finances. Violet's eyes fill with practiced tears. I thought you'd be excited. Mom gives me a look, the one that says keep the peace, before passing the potatoes. Naomi will come around. She always does. I smile and nod. The perfect daughter. Robert squeezes my hand under the table. A silent show of support. I'm sure it will be beautiful, I say, the words tasting like ash. But in my mind a plan is already forming. A single thought burning bright enough to warm the ice forming around my heart. Never again. Have you ever smiled and nodded while silently planning your escape? Share your thoughts in the comments below. That night I said I would sleep over to take some things left and to check what other plans my family is hiding from me. The family computer screen glows in the dim light of Dad's study as I scroll through Mom's email. I shouldn't be here, shouldn't be doing this. But Robert's words echo in my head. Trust your instincts, Naomi. Something doesn't add up. My breath catches when I see it. An email chain between Mom and Violet with the subject line vendor payments, Naomi. I click, heart hammering against my ribs. Don't worry about the deposits, Mom wrote. James and I have assured everyone that Naomi will cover all expenses once contracts are finalized. My fingers tremble on the mouse. I click through more emails, each one another nail in the coffin of my trust. Screenshots of venue options, catering menus, DJ packages. All with notes about how the bride will be handling payment. A notification pings on Mom's tablet, still logged into her Amazon account. I tap it without thinking and freeze. There in high definition color is a wedding dress. Not my dress. A second dress. Ordered 3 days ago. The confirmation email shows my credit card number. I need your bathroom. I text Robert. Our code for urgent calls. He answers immediately. What happened? They've been planning this for months. My voice sounds hollow even to myself. Violet used my credit card to buy another wedding dress, one that matches her vision. 4. That's credit card fraud, Robert says, his usually calm voice tight with anger. There's more. I switch to speaker and open the banking app on my phone. Remember those deposits I couldn't account for last month? They weren't deposits. They were withdrawals labeled as deposits for wedding expenses. My parents got a call last week, Robert says after a pause. Someone claiming to be your wedding coordinator said you wanted a simple ceremony and didn't need their contribution. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. I minimize the email and notice an Excel file on the desktop labeled W plus a budget final. I shouldn't open it, but I do anyway. The spreadsheet appears meticulously organized with color-coded tabs. I click through them, my stomach dropping further with each page. Venue $22,000. Catering $15,000. Entertainment $8,000. Flowers $7,000. Photography $6,000. Dresses plural $5,000. At the bottom a final sum $63,000. With a note in Violet's distinctive purple font, Naomi's responsibility. I lean back in Dad's chair, suddenly dizzy. The family photo on his desk, Mom, Dad, Violet, and me at her wedding, seems to mock me now. I was smiling in that picture, having just signed away my education fund. While searching for more evidence, I find Mom's journal tucked in the desk drawer. I've never invaded her privacy like this before, but I'm past caring. I flip to recent entries. Naomi's always been the responsible one. She wrote just last week. She'll understand this is for family. So the same day Dad claimed financial hardship, a receipt from Pine Hills Golf Club shows his $5,000 membership renewal. I take screenshots and forward all messages to my chat. Tomorrow I will start dealing with them thoroughly. My phone buzzes in the morning while I am at office. A text from Jessica, my oldest friend who works at an event planning company. Call me as soon as possible. Violet just contacted us claiming to be handling arrangements for your wedding. I forward her the spreadsheet before calling. Her outrage validates what I already know: this isn't normal family behavior. They're gaslighting you, she says bluntly. This is financial abuse. Later that evening, Robert's sister Emily visits our apartment. Unlike me, she successfully escaped her own controlling family years ago. The problem isn't just Violet, Emily explains as we sit at our kitchen table. Your mother enables everything. Notice the pattern: Violet creates the crisis. Your mother offers the solution that requires your sacrifice. Mrs. Sullivan, my elderly neighbor who sometimes joins us for coffee, nods in agreement. She came 10 minutes after Emily. I've watched this dynamic for years, dear. Your sister takes your mother, facilitates your father, enforces, and you accommodate, she says. Not anymore, I say, but my voice wavers. The threats begin the next day. Violet calls about a networking event at her company. Remember how I helped you get that marketing position? Her voice drips with sweetness. Family connections are so important. Speaking of which, have you chosen a venue yet? Dad mentions the house down payment they might help with if the wedding goes smoothly. Mom casually references grandma's heart attack while discussing wedding stress. You know, cardiac issues run in our family. She sighs. I've already told the aunts about our combined celebration. They're thrilled. That night I make my first strategic move. I'll need to be the one to sign the venue contract. I tell them over dinner, my voice steadier than I feel. Their exchange of glances speaks volumes. At my apartment I cancel the fraudulent dress order and change all my financial passwords. The victory feels hollow when Violet calls immediately. You're being ridiculous, she snaps. You've gained weight anyway. That dress would have looked better on me. I endure the barbs, the manipulative texts, the constant pressure, the price of playing along while I formulate my plan. Later, alone in our bathroom, I finally break. Tears stream down my face as I grip the sink, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Robert knocks gently but knows better than to enter. I stare at my reflection, at the woman who's been molded into the perfect sacrificial lamb. I splash cold water on my face, dry my eyes and straighten my shoulders. This is war, but I'll fight it my way, with strategy not emotion, with boundaries not bridges. In the mirror, I see someone new emerging, someone with steel in her spine and fire in her eyes. What's the most difficult boundary you've had to set with someone you love? Was it worth it? The next morning my phone buzzes at 7:43 a.m. I don't recognize the number, but the text contains a photo that makes my stomach lurch. Congratulations on your big announcement, reads the message from someone named Tara. I can't wait to celebrate both events next month. I tap the image and freeze. It's a screenshot of my mother's Facebook post from last night, thrilled to announce we're celebrating two beautiful milestones in one special day. Naomi's wedding and Violet's 5th anniversary. Details coming soon. 47 comments. 93 likes. Robert rolls over, his eyes still heavy with sleep. Everything okay? I wordlessly hand him my phone. He sits up immediately, fully awake. They didn't even ask us, I whisper. Call your mom, Robert says, his jaw tightening. Now. Mom answers on the first ring, her voice suspiciously cheerful. Good morning, sweetheart. Did you see? Take it down. My voice comes out steadier than I feel. What? The post, Mom. Take it down. We never agreed to this. She laughs like I've told a particularly amusing joke. Oh, Naomi. Everyone's so excited. Your father's golfing buddies are already planning to attend. It's too late to change anything now. The familiar weight of obligation settles on my chest. Too late. Always too late to stand up for myself. We'll talk about this later. I manage before hanging up. 3 days later I'm at Elegance Bridal with Jessica, trying on the simple A-line dress I chose weeks ago. I twist in front of the mirror, admiring how the ivory fabric catches the light. It's perfect, Jessica says, snapping a photo. Classic but not boring. Totally you. The bell above the door jingles. I catch the reflection of Violet sweeping into the boutique designer, sunglasses perched on her head, Mom trailing behind her. Surprise. Mom calls out, clapping her hands. We thought we'd join you. Jessica shoots me a look that says stick to the plan. I nod almost imperceptibly. How unexpected, I say, turning to face them. Violet circles me like a predator, her manicured finger tapping against her chin. It's a bit plain, isn't it? Nothing like my Vera Wang. She reaches for a glass of complimentary champagne from a nearby table. But I suppose it suits you. Go. The boutique owner smiles tightly. Would you like to see some veils to complete the look? Before I can answer, Violet's arm jerks, sending a wave of red liquid across the front of my dress. The champagne glass hits the floor with a crash. Oh no! Violet gasps, hand flying to her mouth in mock horror. I'm so clumsy. Thank goodness you haven't purchased it yet. My fingers curl into fists at my sides as I watch the red stain bloom across the ivory fabric. The boutique owner rushes for club soda, but we all know the dress is ruined. Mom pats my arm. Don't worry, dear. This was clearly meant to be. We'll find something that complements Violet's anniversary dress. 2 hours later, I meet Robert at his office for lunch, my hands still shaking. They destroyed my dress, Rob. On purpose. Robert's eyes darken. That's it. No more playing nice. Dad called this morning while I was at work, I say. They've scheduled a walkthrough at Rosewood Manor for tomorrow. They expect us to sign the contract right away. Robert takes my hand across the table. Then we go to Plan B. The next afternoon we stand in Rosewood Manor's grand ballroom. Crystal chandeliers hang from 30-foot ceilings. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook manicured gardens. It's breathtaking and exactly the kind of extravagant venue I never wanted. Perfect for your sister's grand entrance, Dad says, clapping the venue manager on the shoulder. And plenty of room for all 200 guests. 200. I echo. We agreed on 50. Mom waves dismissively. We couldn't possibly cut the list now. Everyone's already been notified. The venue manager, Mr. Phillips, produces a thick contract. If we could just get signatures and the deposit today, we'll be all set for next month's celebration. Dad pulls out his pen with a flourish. I'll sign first, then Naomi can. Actually, I interrupt, surprising everyone including myself. My fiancé and I agreed that both our signatures are required on any contract. That's non-negotiable. So, the silence that follows feels electric. What are you talking about? Mom asks, her smile strained. Robert doesn't need to be bothered with these details. It's our wedding, I say quietly. We make decisions together. Violet snorts. Since when do you make decisions at all? I reach into my bag and pull out a folder. Since I discovered these. I place printouts of unauthorized credit card charges on the table. Charges for items I never approved, made with my stored card information. Mom pales. Dad stares at the papers, then at Violet. You told me she agreed to those expenses, he says slowly. Violet's face hardens. She always pays. That's what she does. Something inside me breaks open. Years of silence and accommodation rush out like floodwater. You ruined my college years, I say, my voice surprisingly calm. You're not ruining my wedding day. Mr. Phillips clears his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps I should give you a moment. No need, I say, reaching for the contract. I'd like to review the terms. Dad tries to intercept. Naomi, be reasonable. I've learned that true family respects boundaries. I meet his gaze steadily. Sign if you want to. I'll cover $6,000 for the deposit. The remaining $57,000 is your responsibility. Violet's face contorts. You can't do this. We've told everyone. You've always been the reliable one, the responsible one. I still am, I say. I'm just being responsible to myself for once. Dad looks from me to the contract, then back again. Something shifts in his expression, surprise, perhaps even a flicker of respect. He signs his name with less flourish than before. That evening Jessica calls with news. I found the perfect spot for the real ceremony. Small chapel by the lake, available the weekend before. And Robert's parents offered their lake house for the reception, I tell her, feeling a surprising lightness in my chest. How much was the deposit again? Jessica asks. $6,000. That's a lot of money to walk away from. I think about years of giving in, of putting everyone else first. It's my freedom fee, I say. Worth every penny. Later Robert and I sit cross-legged on our apartment floor surrounded by plans for our real wedding, the one only our closest friends will attend. "I'm proud of you," Robert says, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I pick up a pair of scissors from the coffee table and hold them up to a strand of my hair. The long straight style my mother always insisted was most flattering. "What do you think?" I ask. "Time for a change." Robert grins. "Absolutely." The scissors make a satisfying snip. Dark strands fall to the floor around me. With each cut I feel lighter. For the first time, I say, watching my reflection change in the window, I'm not just their daughter or Violet's sister. I'm choosing to be me. After my impromptu haircut, I try on the simple white sundress we ordered online. No train, no beading, no cathedral veil. Just clean lines and comfortable fabric. "This feels like me," I whisper. Not their version of me. Later Jessica arrives with a detailed timeline tucked under her arm. Decoy wedding at Rosewood, real wedding at the chapel. I've mapped it down to 15-minute increments. Emily, Robert's sister, brings a legal folder. My friend at the firm confirmed it. "Since your parents signed the venue contract, they're legally responsible for the bill. Not you. We work into the night creating our escape plan. Every guest, every detail, every contingency accounted for." "I can't believe we're really doing this," I say, feeling the first genuine laugh bubble up inside me in months. Mrs. Sullivan stops by with homemade cookies, her eyes crinkling with wisdom. "Sometimes the kindest thing is walking away," she says, squeezing my hand. "I wish I'd had your courage 50 years ago." The night before the wedding, Violet appears at my apartment unannounced. Her eyes narrow at my newly short hair. "The venue called," she says without preamble. "They need final payment confirmation." I smile calmly. "Everything's been taken care of. Tomorrow will be unforgettable." Something in my tone makes her pause. She studies my face, searching for the familiar signs of capitulation. Finding none, she leaves with a huff. After she's gone, I pull out a small overnight bag from under the bed and carefully pack the essentials. White sundress, new flats, marriage license. Robert watches from the doorway. "Ready?" he asks. I zip the bag with finality. "More than I've ever been." Have you ever had to create an escape plan from a toxic situation? What gave you the strength to follow through? The next morning, a makeup artist dabs powder across my forehead as I check the time. 9:17 a.m. Perfect. I snap a selfie in the bridal robe Jessica borrowed from her cousin's salon, making sure the generic background reveals nothing about our actual location. Sending the first bait. I tell Robert, who's lounging on the lake house sofa in jeans and shirt, coffee mug in hand. No tuxedo yet. We have hours before our real ceremony. I attach the photo to a group text. Getting started. Running a bit behind, but so excited. Then I add 3 bright emojis and a champagne glass. Exactly the kind of overenthusiastic text they'd expect. Mom responds instantly. Everyone's arriving at the venue. Your father is greeting the Hendersons now. They're all there, I tell Robert. The weight of 5 years lifting from my shoulders. 200 guests. And a $63,000 bill. Robert raises his coffee mug. To freedom. My phone buzzes with Violet's text. Remember, I need you here by 11:30 for our sister photos before your ceremony. Wear the pearl earrings I picked. I silence notifications and join my actual friends on the deck overlooking the tranquil lake. Jessica pours mimosas while Sam and Keith string white lights around the birch trees. Robert's parents arrive with wildflowers from their garden and warm hugs that ask for nothing in return. How are you feeling? Robert's mother asks, squeezing my hand. Like I can finally breathe. At 10:45 I send another staged photo. Hair done. Makeup next. Running about 30 minutes behind schedule. The responses flood in immediately. Mom, people are asking when you'll arrive. What should I tell them? Dad, the minister has another commitment at 3. You need to hurry. Violet, this is so inconsiderate, Naomi. My anniversary celebration is at risk. I switch my phone to do not disturb and slip into my simple lace dress, the one I bought myself, not the beaded monstrosity Violet selected to complement her anniversary gown. Ready for our real ceremony? Robert asks, handsome in his navy suit. More than you know. M said. At noon, Jessica returns from her reconnaissance mission at the country club, laughing so hard she can barely speak. You should see them, she gasps. Your mom keeps announcing minor delays. Your dad is sweating through his suit. And Violet, oh my god, Violet is telling everyone it's actually your fault because you insisted on using her hairstylist instead of hiring two. How many guests left? Robert asks. None yet. They're too fascinated by the train wreck. It's like watching a slow-motion car crash in formal wear. At 12:30, I send one final text. Having a minor zipper emergency. Start without me. Be there in 20 minutes. Then I turn my phone completely off and take Robert's hands beneath the lakeside arbor. 20 cherished friends surround us as Robert's father begins our ceremony. No one checks their watch or texts during our vows. No one demands to be the center of attention. Across town, according to our plan, the venue manager is presenting my parents with a preliminary bill. The contract they signed, the one they pushed so hard to finalize, makes them solely responsible for payment. The $6,000 deposit I contributed was carefully documented as my only financial obligation. By now, Violet has likely realized that her anniversary celebration has become a $63,000 disaster. The carefully selected champagne tower stands untouched. The 5-tier cake with her anniversary topper on the premium tier remains uncut. The guests whisper behind programs, witnessing the family facade crumble. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Robert's father announces, beaming with genuine joy. As Robert kisses me, cheers erupt from people who actually care about our happiness. Later, during our intimate reception dinner, Jessica's phone lights up with a voice message. She puts it on speaker. Jessica, this is Eleanor Thompson. Mom's voice sounds strained, her usual composure shattered. If you know where Naomi is, please tell her this isn't funny anymore. The venue needs the remaining payment tonight. Her father. Her voice breaks. James had to give them his retirement account information. Please have her call us immediately. In the background, we hear Violet shrieking at someone, likely her husband. What do you mean, what did I do? This was Mom and Dad's plan too. Jessica turns off the phone, and Robert raises his glass. To my beautiful wife, who taught her family the most valuable lesson they'll ever learn. I clink my glass against his. Freedom was worth every penny of that $6,000 deposit. What do you think is worse? I ask our friends. Losing $63,000 or losing your dignity? As laughter surrounds us, I already know my answer. The doorbell rings precisely at 10 the morning after our wedding. Robert squeezes my hand as we exchange knowing glances. Right on schedule. Ready? He asks. I nod, straightening the fresh wedding photos we arranged on our coffee table last night. I've been ready for years. When I open the door, Mom stands front and center, eyes red-rimmed and puffy. Dad looms behind, her jaw clenched so tight, I can almost hear his teeth grinding. Violet hovers at his shoulder, her face twisted into an expression that can't decide between rage and triumph. How could you do this to us? Mom's voice breaks, tears already streaming down her face. After everything we've done for you. I step aside, gesturing them in without a word. They file past Mom's familiar perfume, the one she only wears to funerals and confrontations, trailing behind her. Dad doesn't bother sitting. You're legally responsible for this bill, Naomi. I don't know what game you think you're playing, but it ends now. Tell everyone what kind of person you really are. Violet hisses, jabbing a finger toward me. I already started. Cousin Emma knows you abandoned your own wedding over some childish grudge. I don't flinch. Instead, I walk to our dining table where a leather portfolio sits waiting. Robert stands beside me, his presence a fortress at my back. I expected this visit. I say, my voice steadier than it's ever been when addressing them. I've been preparing for it for a while. One by one I remove the contents of the portfolio and arrange them on the table. The movement feels ceremonial, like laying out the pieces of a sacred ritual. In many ways it is. What's all this? Dad asks, impatience edging his voice. I press play on my phone. Violet's voice fills the room. She'll pay for everything just like she did for my wedding. That's what little sisters are for. Followed by my parents' unmistakable laughter. Their faces pale in perfect unison. Recording conversations is. Dad starts. Perfectly legal in this state with one-party consent. Robert finishes for him. His law degree finally proving useful against my family. I slide bank statements across the table. Here's proof of the $6,000 deposit I agreed to pay, the only payment I ever committed to. Mom reaches for the papers with trembling hands. But the venue manager said I have the email trail right here. I continue laying out printed correspondence, where I specifically clarified my limited financial involvement. Note the venue manager's response confirming that the contract holders, you and Dad, are responsible for the balance. Violet snatches one of the papers. This doesn't prove anything. Maybe this will. I pull out screenshots of unauthorized credit card charges, each with forensic timestamps. My credit card, Violet, for your second wedding dress. The one you ordered after spilling wine on mine. You always were so dramatic about money, she scoffs, but her voice wavers. Dad's face has taken on an ashen quality. Naomi, be reasonable. We can't possibly cover $57,000. I extract the final document, a lawyer's letter outlining their liability. The contract is in your names. The venue has your signatures. The remaining $57,000 is your responsibility. Mom collapses onto our couch, mascara creating charcoal rivers down her cheeks. Why would you do this to your own family? I lost $15,000 for Violet's wedding. I say, the words no longer sticking in my throat. I willingly paid $6,000 this time to be free of your manipulation forever. This is revenge. Dad spits desperation, replacing his earlier confidence. No, I correct him. This is the natural consequence of your actions. Violet's husband Thomas, who had been silent by the door, steps forward. So you did the same thing to your sister 5 years ago? His question lands like a stone in still water, creating ripples of uncomfortable silence. That was different. Violet stammers, looking to our parents for support. But something has cracked between them. Mom stares blankly at the coffee table. Dad glares at Violet. And Violet glowers at both of them. Your retirement fund, Mom whispers to Dad. We'll have to use your retirement fund. My retirement fund. His voice rises. This was your idea in the first place. I walk calmly to the door and open it. You can leave now. My new family is coming over to celebrate. They gather their things in defeated silence. As they shuffle toward the exit, I can't resist one final truth. Consider the $63,000 your investment in my freedom. Violet pauses at the threshold, turning back with an expression I've never seen before, something like respect tangled with resentment and perhaps a flicker of recognition. The door closes with a soft click that echoes with finality. Robert wraps his arms around me as I lean against him, suddenly exhausted and exhilarated all at once. Are you okay? He asks into my hair. Before I can answer, my phone chimes with a text. Jessica and the others are on their way over, bringing champagne and takeout from our favorite restaurant. I'm more than okay. I say, looking at our wedding photos, the real ones taken at the lake house with people who truly love us. For the first time in my life, I'm free. Was I justified in my actions, or should I have confronted my family directly instead? What would you have done? A year later, the scent of roasting turkey fills our new home, as I arrange a centerpiece of crimson and gold chrysanthemums on our dining table. Through the window, November sunlight spills across the hardwood floors we installed ourselves last month. Robert catches my eye from the kitchen doorway and raises his wine glass in a silent toast. 1 year exactly, he says, his smile reaching his eyes. I nod, my chest warm with contentment rather than the familiar tightness of anxiety. 1 year since we chose ourselves. 1 year since we walked away from the elaborate charade my family had planned and married by the lake, instead surrounded only by people who truly loved us. The wedding photo on our mantle captures that perfect moment, Robert and I laughing as the weather's beautiful colors danced around us, neither of us looking at the camera. Real joy doesn't pose. The doorbell chimes, interrupting my thoughts. Through the peephole, I see Violet standing alone on our porch, her shoulders hunched against the cold in a way I've never seen before. No Thomas. No dramatic entrance. Just my sister, looking smaller somehow. When I open the door, I stand tall in my own doorway. Unlike that day I overheard them plotting in the dining room, I feel no trembling in my hands, no weakness in my knees. I came to apologize, Violet says, her voice lacking its usual sharp edge. Really apologize? I study her face, searching for the familiar manipulation. Instead I find something new, humility. Dad and Mom had to use their retirement savings to pay the venue, she continues when I remain silent. It was a reality check for all of us. I gesture toward the living room. Come in, the others will be here soon. She hesitates. Thomas threatened divorce unless I started therapy. He said he couldn't be married to someone who treats family like stepping stones. For a moment I see the little girl who once held my hand on the first day of kindergarten, before she learned to see me as competition rather than as a sister. How's that going? I ask, genuinely curious. Hard, she admits, but necessary. The front door opens behind us as Jessica arrives carrying a homemade pie, followed by Emily and Robert's parents. The warmth of their greetings fills the entryway. Later, gathered around our table, Robert raises his glass. To chosen family and second chances. The conversation flows easily, untainted by the tension that characterized family gatherings of the past. When Emily's college-aged cousin mentions pressure from her parents to change majors, I share what took me years to learn. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be someone's victim. I tell her. Boundaries aren't walls, they're the foundation of healthy relationships. The words feel natural now, not rehearsed. Last month I began volunteering at the community center, mentoring young women struggling with family expectations. The scholarship fund we created for money saved on our wedding helped 2 of them start college this fall. As evening approaches, most guests depart with warm hugs and promises to return soon. Only Violet remains, helping clear dishes with careful movements. You're welcome here as my sister, I tell her quietly by the sink, not as the person who tried to ruin my wedding. She nods, accepting the boundary without argument. Mom started to see it too, how she enabled everything. She asked if she could call you sometime. Later, after Violet leaves, Robert presents a small package wrapped in silver paper. Happy anniversary, he whispers. Inside is a shadow box containing our framed $6,000 venue deposit receipt mounted against burgundy velvet. The inscription reads, "Best investment we ever made in our freedom and future." I trace the glass with my fingertip, smiling at the simple truth of it. Some lessons are expensive but worth every penny.